Hello everyone! Welcome to our YouTube channel, Research Ready and Student Matters Hub by Doc Lynn. I am Doc Lynn. Para sa mga bago sa ating YouTube channel, gusto ko ipakilala ang aking sarili. Ako si Doc Lynn and I'm always here to guide you on your research journey by means of the videos that are posted in our YouTube channel. Ikaw ba isang researcher at gusto mong malaman ang cause and effect ng dalawang variables or dalawang bagay pero wala kang chance, wala kang pagkakataon na ma-randomly assign mo yung iyong respondents or participants. Maaring hindi practical na magkaroon ka ng random assignments or ethically, hindi po pwede na mangyari ang ganitong bagay or po pwedeng iisang grupo lamang ng mga kalahok or participants ang pwedeng sumali sa iyong experiment. So ano ba yung po pwede namin nagamitin na type ng experimental research? Ang pwede nyong gamitin ay yung tinatawag nating quasi-experimental research. Ang quasi-experimental research ay isang type ng experimental research kung saan tinitignan mo rin ang cause and effect or yung causality or relationship ng variables at meron ka ring manipulation ng iyong variables. Ang kaibahan nga lamang nito sa true experimental ay there is a non-random assignments of your participants or your respondents dahil sa mga sinabi kong reason kanina. So, meron tayong iba't ibang klase din ng quasi-experimental research. At dito sa lesson video na ito ay i-discuss ko yung tatlong common according kay Creswell and Creswell. Ito yung mga authors sa research na talagang magaling kung ano mang approaches ng research ang gusto nyo. At nire-recommend ko din ang mga libro ni Creswell and Creswell. So simulan na natin mag-discuss kung ano ang quasi-experimental research at kung pwede nyo ba itong gamitin sa inyong research. Pero commonly, bigyan ko lang kayo ng information sa mga universities, lalo na kung kayo ay nagtitake ng master's or dissertation, madalas hindi nila inire-recommend ang paggamit ng quasi-experimental research. Ang madalas na ginagamit ng mga researchers or student researchers ay yung tinatawag nating true experimental research. Pero meron mga pagkakataon na maganda talaga, yung aspeto or yung topic na gustong aralin ng isang researcher at katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, practically and ethically, hindi po pwede na magkaroon ka ng random assignments. Kaya minsan inaalaw ang paggamit ng quasi-experimental research. Depende yan kung ano ang policy ng university ninyo sa paggamit ng mga research design. So now, let us discuss quasi-experimental research. Let's start by defining what do we mean by quasi-experimental design. So this is different from true experimental design. After discussing this, you will now know the difference between true and quasi. A quasi-experimental design involves manipulating an independent variable and measuring its effect on a dependent variable. But what makes it different with true experimental, it lacks random assignment. This design is used when random assignment is not possible for practical or ethical reasons. So kung halimbawa magkakaroon ka ng experiments at talagang isang grupo lang ang pwede mong mapili, you can use quasi-experimental research. But there are schools who are not encouraging using quasi-experimental. What are its characteristics? First, no random assignment. Participants are not randomly assigned to groups. Instead, kung ano lang yung mga existing groups, yun lang yung ginagamit. Second, sa control, it has less control over extraneous variables compared mo sa true experimental designs kasi nga, yung random assignment is absent. Pagdating naman sa manipulation, yung researcher still manipulates the independent variable, but groups are pre-existing or self-selected. In other words, ang bottom line kapag quasi-experimental design, groups are non-randomly assigned, which can greatly affect the findings or the results as well as the procedures of the experiment. When to use? Kailan ba natin siya ginagamit? Kapag ang random assignment ay hindi possible dahil sa mga ethical or practical constraints. Pangalawa, when working with naturally occurring groups or pre-existing conditions. So, wala ka ng choice kung hindi ito lang grupo na ito ang kailangan mong i-assigned as either your experimental or control group. When you still want to evaluate the impact of an intervention but can accept less rigorous control. That's because, again, you lack the ability, not the ability I mean, but the chances of randomly assigning your respondents. Kung meron tayong types ng through experimental research, meron din tayo sa quasi. And this is by Creswell and Creswell again, 2018. So para mas madali nating maintindihan, katulad ng ginawa natin dun sa ating through experimental, let's make a symbol para makita natin dun sa ating gagawin mamaya. A stands for the experimental group while B stands for the control group. X stands for treatment while O stands for measure. Okay, so ang una nating type ng quasi-experimental research ay tinatawag nating non-equivalent pre-test and post-test control group design. Non-equivalent pre-test and post-test control group design, or commonly known also as non-equivalent control group design. In this design, a standard method in quasi-experiments where ang ating group A or experimental at group B control are chosen without random assignment. Meron tayong experimental at control pero pinili natin sila at hindi tayo nag-consider ng random assignment, maybe for practical reason or ethical reason. Both groups undergo pre-test and post-test measures. However, only the experimental group receives the treatment. Para ito yung pre-test post-test control group design ng true experimental. Ang pagkakaiba nga lang nila ay hindi na-assign randomly ang dalawang grupo. Let's have an example. Evaluating the effectiveness of a new reading program in schools. Ang scenario natin, an educational researcher wants to assess whether yung new reading program improves students' reading skills compared sa traditional teaching methods. Hindi posible yung random assignment, no? Or randomly assigning schools to the program is not feasible. So the researchers uses a non-equivalent control group design. Ano yung study design natin? Yung participants natin, 2 schools are selected for the study. School A, the treatment school, and who will implement the new reading program, while School B is the control school who will continue with its traditional reading instruction. But I'll repeat, the researcher did not consider the random assignment. Ano yung groups and interventions? So yung School A, yung ating experimental group, nagbigay ng pre-test at the beginning of the school year, and students are assessed on their reading skills using standardized reading tests. Tapos, nagkaroon ng intervention, nag-participate yung mga estudyante dun sa new reading program throughout the school year, which includes interactive reading activities, specialized software, or maybe new instructional strategies as part of the program. Tapos, binigyan sila ng post-test at the end of the school year. Si School B naman, yung control, nagbigay ng pre-test at the beginning of the year, walang intervention, at binigyan din sila ng post-test. So, ano yung analysis natin? Compare natin yung pre-test scores. Ensure natin that both schools had similar starting levels of reading skills. Compare din natin yung post-test scores. I-assess natin yung improvement ng reading skills for both schools. After that, determine natin yung effectiveness. Analyze natin kung ang students ng School A ay nag-improve ang performance compared sa School B na wala namang na-receive na treatment. Ano ba yung pwede nating maging results interpretation? Siyempre, yung effectiveness ng new reading program ang tinitignan natin. Kung yung ating School A shows significant greater improvement in the reading scores compared dun sa Group B natin na control, siyempre, pinapakita nito na effective yung reading program. kung i-account natin yung initial differences, any observed differences in outcome should be interpreted with consideration of the initial pretest scores to control for pre-existing differences between the schools. Pero laging tatandaan, kung gagawa tayo ng experiments, lagi nating babantayan na ang ating independent variable talaga ang nagko-cause ng effect dun sa ating dependent variable. Baka merong iba na nakaka-interfere na variables na hindi natin namamalayan. Not only variables but also the environment and different scenarios. I'm going to discuss the threats to internal validity in another lesson video. Ang pangalawang klase naman ay tinatawag nating single group interrupted time series design. Single group interrupted time series design. Sa design na ito, yung researcher, nagko-collect siya ng measurement sa isang grupo lamang before and after administering a treatment. So makikita natin yung example, meron lang tayong group A at nakita natin yung measures, nakita natin yung treatment, at nakita ulit natin yung measures. So meron siyang pre, tsaka post, after ng treatment or intervention. Ang example natin, ina-assess natin yung impact of a new anti-smoking campaign on smoking rates. Impact of new anti-smoking campaign on smoking rates. Ang scenario natin, a city implements a new anti-smoking campaign designed to reduce smoking rates among adults. Tinitignan natin yung effectiveness ng campaign at i-evaluate natin siya sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng single group interrupted time series design. Ang study design natin, participants natin, yung entire adult population of the city, which is considered as the study group. Ang data collection natin, meron tayong pre-intervention data collection. Collect natin yung percentage of adults who smoke at multiple time points over a year before the anti-smoking campaign begins. So magkakanda ka ng survey pwedeng every 3 months to measure smoking rates. No, kunyari, January to March and then April to June. Tapos punta na tayo dun sa intervention period. Ila-launch mo na ngayon yung anti-smoking campaign, which includes public service announcements, educational workshops, and others. Then proceed ka dun sa post-intervention data collection. Continue to collect the data on smoking rates at the same intervals every 3 months then for at least 1 year after the campaign starts. Okay, paano natin siya i-analyze? Pwede tayong mag-conduct ng trend analysis. I-plot natin yung smoking rates over a time period bago nagkaroon ng intervention. And then after ng intervention, i-plot uli natin yung smoking rates. Tapos i-compare natin siya. Kung meron bang pagbabago ang smoking rates pagkatapos ng intervention. Para malaman natin kung merong significant impact dahil sa anti-smoking campaign. So syempre ang inaalam natin dito ay yung effectiveness ng campaign. If the trend in smoking rates show a significant decrease after the campaign starts, sinasabi ng pag-aaral na ang anti-smoking campaign was effective in reducing smoking rates. The design accounts for natural fluctuations in smoking rates over time by comparing the pre- and the post-intervention trends. Okay, yung pangatlo ay control group interrupted time series design. Okay, control group interrupted time series design. This design is an adaptation of the single group interrupted time series design. Where dun sa ating single group kasi meron lang tayong experimental, dito naman 2 groups of participants. Not randomly assigned, are observed over a period. Only the group A receives the treatment. So kung titignan natin, yung group A natin has a pre-test, then meron siyang intervention or treatment, at meron siyang post-test. Sa group B natin, meron lang siyang measure, pero wala siyang treatment. Let's take an example. Evaluating the impact of new online learning tool on student performance. Ang scenario ng study natin, yung isang school district, nag-introduce siya ng new online learning tool para ma-improve yung students' mathematics scores. Gusto niyang i-assess yung effectiveness na ito sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng tool At ang gagamitin nila ay yung control group, interrupted, time series design. So, i-include nila ang experimental at control wherein yung experimental gagamit ng new tool, yung control ay hindi. Ang study design natin, ang participants natin, 2 schools are selected. The A, which is the experimental, and then the B, which is the control. Yung parehong school, syempre dapat pareho sila ng demographics and academic performance para ma-ensure yung comparability. So since ito ay quasi-experimental, hindi randomly assigned yung ating dalawang grupo. Data collection points, yung ating free intervention data collection para sa parehong schools, kinokollect mo yung students' mathematics scores nila at multiple time points over a year before the introduction of the online learning tool. So ulitin ko, kunyari, yung test scores nila are recorded every 3 months. Pareho sila. Then, intervention period, si School A, nakareceive siya ng new online learning tool, while si School B ay hindi. Tinutuloy niya lang yung kanyang traditional mathematics instruction. Ano naman yung post-intervention data collection? Sa parehong school, i-collect mo yung data ng students sa mathematics of the same intervals for at least 1 year after the introduction of the new online learning tool. What will be your analysis? So, syempre, ito ay time series. So, magkakaroon tayo ng trend analysis. I-plot mo yung mathematics score over time for both schools. Tingnan mo yung trends before and after the intervention for both the treatment and the control. Ngayon, ang gagawin natin, i-compare natin. Within School A, compare changes in mathematics scores before and after the introduction of the online learning. Doon tayo sa experimental muna. Compare natin yung scores niya before and after the intervention. Kung between schools naman, compare natin yung changes ng scores between School A and School B para malaman natin yung differences ng trends which can be attributed to the online learning tool. So, ang pwede nating maiging interpretation dito, kung yung ating School A, which is the treatment group, ay nagpakita ng significant improvement sa mathematics scores on the post-intervention compared to pre-intervention scores and compared to School B, it suggests that the new online learning tool was effective. So ayan, ngayon pagkatapos yung panoorin yung video, sigurado ako alam nyo na yung difference ng true at saka ng quasi-experimental research. Makakapag-decide na kayo kung ito ba ang gagamitin nyo or kung papaano nyo siya gagamitin. Alin ba dun sa 3 klase ng quasi-experimental research ang nababagay sa research objectives or research questions na meron kayo ngayon o gagawin nyo pa sa mga susunod na panahon. Maraming salamat sa inyong panonood at laging pagsuporta sa ating YouTube channel. I hope na nakakatulong ako sa inyo sa mga research endeavors na meron kayo. At kung meron kayong oras, please comment kung ano man ang inyong natutunan or kung meron kayong gustong sabihin about our YouTube channel na pwedeng maka-inspire sa iba pa na gumagawa ng research. Maraming salamat at God bless you all. Please like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel. I will very much appreciate it if you're also going to share it with others, lalo na yung nangangailangan sa research. Always remember, we unlock insights to empower your minds. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you on our next lesson video. Bye-bye!